Previously in Dark Places.
He was out on his porch and he saw two red eyes right at the tree line staring down at him.
Every now and then I'd hear something up in the hills there, and I'd always kind of just cock my head a little bit and say, wonder what that is.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. It's been a weird day here for me. I've been doing some lawn work today and I got in all kinds of pollen today and my eyes are swollen.
I just now seen your picture on here. Look like somebody beat the brakes off of you.
Yeah, it was rough. Today we're going to be talking about angels and demons. If you've had a sighting you'd like to share with us on our show, send us an email to indarkplacespod@hotmail.com. We got a few news items this week, so let's jump into the news.
Oklahoma City, May 26, 2021. Representative Justin Humphreys announced a $3 million bounty Wednesday on the State House floor. We have started what may be the biggest promotion in Oklahoma State ever. This is turning out to be huge, Oklahoma Representative Justin Humphreys said. In January, Humphrey filed legislation to set up a Bigfoot hunting season in the state. Bill HB 1648 would ask the Oklahoma Wildlife Commission to establish an annual season dates and creates a necessary specific hunting license and fees for hunting the mythical Sasquatch. Humphrey says a film crew is covering the bounty with plans to shoot a 6-month series on the search for Bigfoot. It's not hunt, by the way. We don't hunt Bigfoot. Nobody wants to harm Bigfoot. We want to do a live humane capture of Bigfoot, Humphreys added. We are wanting the whole world to come to southeastern Oklahoma and to the state of Oklahoma and get involved in the bounty. You can watch the full session from the House floor if you go to their website. But, okay, well now it's making a little bit of sense. Now, I guess they're not paying the bounty for a dead Bigfoot, but for a live captured Bigfoot is the way I'm understanding that. But either way, now look, there's so many hunters out, especially in the United States. And out of all these hunters, if nobody has killed one and claimed it yet, I don't see anybody being able to capture one alive. So can you imagine the hoaxes that are about to come their way? $3 million for a Bigfoot hunting season in the state of Oklahoma. Good for you, Oklahoma. At least somebody's trying to do something about it. Now, in my travels up into Northern California, Southern Oregon, you get up around Eureka and Reading, California, or down around Klamath Falls, Oregon, places like that, there are signs on the side of the road that says Bigfoot crossings.
That's cool.
I don't know if they're there for, a chuckle or they're really there for a reason. Now that I don't know, but they are out there. A good friend of mine, Don Niels with the KBRO, there was a, when was it? It was sometime last year, I believe. And we still don't know if it was a hoax or if it was really something that Kentucky DNR put out. But they had a brochure and flyers and stuff out talking about if you come up on a Bigfoot to, how to handle it. Basically, instructions like you would a bear, stay away, don't feed it, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And I asked Don if he knew anything about it. He said, well, he was checking into it. And to me, if the state of Kentucky, if that's true and if it's real, that just means that the state of Kentucky acknowledged that there's Bigfoot in their state. That's how I look at it. Hang on, I'm actually reading the actual bill that they're trying to put through in Oklahoma here. Well, if it's passed, according to this bill, there's only one page. The Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Commission shall promulgate rules establishing a Bigfoot hunting season. The commission shall set annual seasons, dates, and create a necessary specific hunting license and fees. This act shall become effective November 1st, 2021. So if it passes this November, you'll be able to go out and take your camera and hunt a Bigfoot. Like I didn't know it was. That means if you don't have that license, it's going to be illegal for you to take a camera out into the woods and film a Bigfoot. Well, I don't know about filming. No, it won't be, because you'll still be able to film. You just won't be able to capture one.
That's the catch. They found a
way to make money.
Yep.
Leave it to a politician to make money off of Bigfoot.
We got too many squatchers out here. We got to try to get some money on this.
Wow. Oh, God. Ohio will be next. Because there's so many sightings in this state, and if they can make a buck off of it, you can guarantee they will.
Aussie UFO witnesses break silence. A retired Melbourne school teacher has made astonishing claims about how he was threatened by government thugs over what is regarded as Australia's greatest UFO mystery, before being contacted by federal agents close to the American president. On April 6, 1966, about 200 Westall High School students, teachers, and Clayton South residents witnessed a large silver cigar-shaped flying saucer hover above the school's oval and nearby Grange Reserve. The incident has been recounted before, immortalized in UFO-shaped play equipment for kids to climb on at the reserve, and even retold in a documentary. But one of the teachers who witnessed the extraordinary events has since revealed new details of what happened next. Andrew Greenwood, who taught science to Year 9 students at Westall, detailed attempts made to silence him, and how he was contacted by someone at the very top of the U.S. government. I saw a craft, a mechanical object, intelligently controlled, hovering above me, Mr. Greenwood told a 7 News Spotlight documentary, which airs on Sunday, and features several other witnesses. Mr. Greenwood also said 5 small planes hovered around the object. Within 40 minutes, Air Force and Army personnel in their trucks poured into the area and formed a security barrier around the reserve. But knowing the area well, Mr. Greenwood and others were able to sneak in and see what was going on. We saw a circular area, like the trampled grass, he said, and there were guards around it, and there were people in there with equipment. Mr. Greenwood spoke to local news reporters about the incident, but became frightened about speaking out when 2 weeks after the incident, 2 men claiming to be government officials knocked on the door of his home. One in plain clothes and the other senior Air Force, Mr. Greenwood said. The men told the teacher he was mistaken about what he saw and had he really seen anything. Absolutely, I was threatened. I was told that I should not say anything about it, Mr. Greenwood said. When I tried to explain to them that they weren't there, and I was, and I knew what I saw, well, the first suggestion was that you'd be ill-advised to go on saying that because clearly you were drunk on duty and will have to be reported to the education department. And of course, you will lose your job. A year after the Westall incident, Mr. Greenwood was interviewed by an American physicist, Dr. James E. McDonald, who was known for his study of UFOs. He says, at the instruction of the office of then President of the United States, Lyndon B. Johnson, the President had authorized the establishment for an inquiry to inquire into issues of unidentified flying objects, and that they were sending out someone, he said. The U.S. began investigating UFOs and the phenomenon soon after the Second World War, when sightings began. Mr. Greenwood is adamant that the Australian government covered up the incident at the time and has refused to tell anyone what really happened since. What really strikes me is that 55 years on, these people are certain about what they saw, he said. It just beggars belief for me. In Australia, we've never had an official investigation. And flatly, I think there has been a cover-up. I really do. I think someone has buried the Department of Supply report, which I know exists. There have been reports of angels and demons all throughout recorded history. Today we're going to be looking at some of those reports, as well as talking about some of our own personal stories with angels and demons.
If anybody out there that doesn't believe in demons or angels, they're here. Whether you can see them or not, they're here. So Colossians 1:16, for by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him, for him. I think demons and angels are around us all the time, and we can't see them. There may be an angel right here in this room with me, or a demon, either one. That's how they can manipulate you so well, because they're around you all the time. They see what you do when other people's not around. They hear what you say when other people's not around, and they can twist that and use that to their advantage. That's how they know to come disguised as this one and know you're thinking, because they're around you all the time, and that's their job. That's all their demons are here to do, nothing but kill, steal, and destroy. And they do it so in such a way that you don't even know that it's happening. Like, just take someone who commits suicide. I think anybody who commits suicide somehow is being attacked by a demon somehow, whether it be through depression, mental illness, it doesn't matter. I had a friend just 2 months ago commit suicide back in April. Wasn't even right at 2 months ago. One of my best friends, I've known him for over 40 years. We grew up together. We rode bikes together. We, chewed tobacco together. We fished. We hunted. We were best friends. We were like brothers. He committed suicide. And I have, just knowing him the way I knew him and the way he liked to live his life, which was a little reckless. And he'd always been that way since we were kids. But I have no doubt, and I know deep in my heart, that I think he was being attacked by demons. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, could have been. It makes sense.
And then you have the demonic spirits who show their true colors right off the bat. I think those are more of a demonic attack. That's when you more of a poltergeist type thing. That's when you have, things move and you hear or see things out of the corner of your eyes. I think those are an actual demonic attack. Now, I can't really break down and know what the difference between them are. But I mean, that verse right there says it all. All things visible and invisible. Why would that be in there? Why would invisible be in there? That makes me think there's things around us that we don't see.
Yeah, I believe so.
All things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible.
My mom talked about seeing angels and stuff. It's cool. We'd go over and see her, and there's an old dresser in her hospital room. She'd say, "You see a dresser over there?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Look about right where the third door is, the third drawer going down it." I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Right in there, just about every night, there's a big bright light comes from right around where that drawer is. And angels come out of that light, and they'll come over and they'll talk to me and stuff." I'm like, wow, that's cool.
That's awesome. I mean, even if it's not true and it was just in her mind, that's pretty awesome vision to have.
Yeah, it's cool. We was sitting there with her one day. It was probably about a week before she died. And me, my dad, I believe my grandma and grandpa, we were all sitting there with her. And she said, "You see that woman standing over in the corner?" And we looked, and there wasn't nobody there. And no, I don't see her. I said, "Well, yeah, she's standing right there in the corner. And she's got long gray hair. And she's been following me to every room I go to." she ended up dying over here at South Williamson Hospital. She had been in Pineville forever. And Huntington, she'd been all over the place. She said that angel had followed her to every room that she had been in.
Wow.
And I looked over that way, and I could just like feel like a presence over there, just looking over that way, because Mom was saying there's somebody standing there. I was like, man, I can feel it.
Wow, that's crazy.
As she was about to die, she would talk about having these nightmares and stuff of me and my sister figured demons. She said these people dressed in black trying to drag her down the hallway, and she didn't like them and stuff like that. And we were like, yeah, that's demons trying to win over her soul a bit.
Yep.
So
I had no doubt.
My sister was pregnant with my niece at the time.
And she pretty much, she told me that she had prayed, I guess, to get them away from my mom, and that she was stronger than my mom or something like that. Pick on my mom while she's weak right now, junk like that. Call them out. And she started hearing junk in her house, demons and stuff. She'd be in the getting ready to go to bed and stuff at night.
And she was upstairs in the bedroom, had my nephew, and she could hear all kinds of noises downstairs, chairs moving around and stuff. And when my brother-in-law came home from work, he worked overnight in a coal mine. One of the kitchen chairs was pushed up against the door, and he couldn't even open the door. He had to go into the main front door. He couldn't open the garage door to get in. He thought it was just my sister messing with him and stuff. He looked, and I think all the cabinet doors were open and just all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And all the chairs were all moved away from the table. The table itself was pushed up against the wall, and my sister just up there in the bedroom, scared to death, wondering what was going on down there and stuff. She thought it was somebody that had broken in on her, and she was freaking out. But there was no one else in the house. It was just those demons.
Oh, yeah.
Hear doors slamming and stuff.
That's when they can have more dominion over you, especially at night, because when you're asleep, you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, with your mom, she was weak. And in her state, she was weak, and they knew that. So it made it easy for them.
We had been living with my dad because of the house fire. We got the double wide like a year after my mom died. Pretty much the whole time, those demons have been tormenting my sister with weird stuff like that, moving her chairs around and stuff pretty much every night while my brother-in-law was at work. So it was like a year later when we got our double wide, and by that time I was getting pretty worked up, mad about it, because they had been picking up my mom like that, and then they had been tormenting my sister as well. So I pretty much called them out too, like my sister did. Hey, you guys it's a big and bad. Come on, take me on.
Yeah.
And
careful what you wish for, my friend.
They did too. They gave me down the road. When we first bought this double wide, I saw two of them in here in this room where I'm sitting at right now. Sitting over in the corner, opposite where I am right now, over to my right. There was two demons flat out. I seen them plain as daylight. It was dark in here. Didn't have my electric on yet or nothing, but they were blacker than the room. The shadows in the room. I had moonlight going by and my flashlight and stuff. They were sitting over in the corner here, about 2.5, 3 feet tall. And there was one a little bit bigger than the other one. The smaller one of the two was kind of cowering behind the bigger one, like looking over his shoulder.
Right.
And red eyes glowing. And it was the freakiest thing ever was. Scared me to death.
I imagine so.
I would hear them for a week or so before that. I could hear them back in here whispering. I never could make out what they were saying. I could just hear like a every night. I would come in here and be working on the plumbing and stuff, and I could hear that whispering. And then that one night I came in here, I said, man, that's coming from that back bedroom. And I went in here, and sure enough, I seen them, and I could hear them while I was looking at them. And, oh, man, that was wild.
You just gotta claim that in the name of Jesus, son.
Yeah, that's what I did pretty much to cleanse the house and stuff. He scared me out of here that night, but I came back in the daytime and cleansed it all and commanded them to leave and stuff. Never saw them again since.
Yep.
It was freaky.
I have no doubt. They are demons. I don't know, something about them. It's just, yeah. You got to claim that in the name of Jesus and clear that out. You may be able to scare me. You may be able to frighten me. You may be able to even make me second judge myself. But I promise you, Jesus Christ will put the whooping on you, son. You're going whether you want to or not because Jesus said so. Yeah, that's creepy stuff.
They were freaky looking little things. They look kind of like gargoyles and stuff you see on these buildings and stuff. They had that kind of look to them.
Really? Wow. Now, I saw a shadow person once in my old house, and I only seen it once. We lived there 25 years and only seen it one time. Um, I was just walking through the living room into the kitchen. Well, in that transition, if you look to the left, it's down the hallway where the bedrooms and stuff are at. And as I was walking into the kitchen, I just looked down the hallway. And by the time I saw what I saw, I was already in the kitchen. And I stopped dead and I leaned back where I could look down the hallway and it was gone. But I'm not kidding you, just as plain as day, a solid black figure was in my bedroom. And I could see it was like if you had your head peeking around the corner looking. And I could see like the left side of his arm, his head, one of the shoulders. And the crazy thing is when I looked down the hallway, I seen it physically dart back into the bedroom. Like, oh, it saw me. And I froze and I leaned back real quick to look. I was like, what was that? And it was gone. And that is the only time I'd ever seen one. That is the only time I'd ever seen anything in that house. And nobody lived in that house before us. We had that house built. So, but it was kind of weird. It only happened one time.
That is freaky.
And it was in the daytime. It was in the middle of the afternoon, a sunny day. So that's how pronounced and outlined this was for me to see it. And it was solid black. You couldn't see through it. It was like a solid black figure. And like I said, it was like he was peering out of my bedroom, looking down the hallway at me as I was walking by.
There was a feller wrote to me on my UFO page a couple months ago. Feller had captured a shadow person on his phone. He had been seeing it darting around the corners like it was peeping out from the doorways, watching him.
Yeah.
And he set his cell phone out one night, going to try to catch it because he would wake up and see it, but by the time he'd get his phone or whatever, it'd be gone. So he just recorded the doorway while he was sleeping. And he got it on there, and it did the same thing. It was kind of looking around the doorway, peeping out at him. And then it just kind of walked on across the hallway.
Wow. I have no idea what those are. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah, because it was creepy. I mean, it was the perfect silhouette of a head and a shoulder. And, the way he was leaning out, it's like he was holding on to the wall to keep him from tipping over. Like he was holding on to the inside of the wall as he was leaning out. He was leaning out that far. And then when I peered down at the hallway, it was like it noticed I saw it. And it jumped back into the room real quick. Because I was like, what the heck was that?
It was freaky.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it was nighttime, I would say, well, it was just maybe a car going by or something like that. But no, this was in the middle of the day. I do remember that. Because I was coming in from cutting grass and I was going into the kitchen to get something to drink.
That's cool.
And I don't understand these people who believe either in angels and not demons or demons and not angels.
Yeah, it don't make a bit of sense, does it?
No, because, I mean, it's like, how can you have good and not evil or evil and not good? It's not consistent, and it upsets the balance of everything. So if you have demons, you have to have angels, and vice versa. It's the same way.
My grandpa likes to tell this story of, I guess it's probably back in the 50s. He was working with one of his good friends, and they had got off work one night, and they lived down this little street, and his buddy took like a little shortcut to get to his house through like a little cornfield. Instead of walking 2 blocks on down the road, he just cut through that cornfield and he'd be closer to his house.
Right.
And he got out through there and said that something started chasing after him, a little old black thing. He didn't really give a whole lot of detail. He said it was black and it was not even up to his knees. Just started chasing after him, and the guy took off running. He had his gun with him, a pistol in his pocket or whatever, and he turned around, he's shooting at it, and it just kept on charging at him. So he run as fast as he could to get away from this thing. He finally made it to his house, and he slammed the door. He got in there and scared and everything. He looking out the windows there for a while, and he, finally, after a couple hours, whatever, he went to bed. And he woke up the next morning, and there was little claw marks all over his front door.
Wow.
Some kind of weird demon thing got after him.
Well, it's like, if you think like demon possession, even, of course, I mean, I know people who are atheists and people who don't follow the Bible or follow Jesus, they're going to foo-foo this regardless. But even the Bible talks about Jesus casting out demons in possession. Matthew 9:32 and 33 says, as they were going away, behold, a demon oppressed a man who was mute, was brought to Jesus. And when the demon had been cast out, the mute man spoke, and the crowds marveled. Trying to find the one.
I'm bad for that too. I can't remember where it is in the Bible and stuff. I remember stories like that, but I can't remember. Like
I'm the same way. I can remember the stories, but
casting the demons into the pigs, and they jumped off the cliff and everything.
Yeah.
But I can't remember where it was.
Here it is. And when he came to the other side unto the country of the gardens, 2 demon-possessed men confronted him as they were coming out of the tombs. They were so extremely violent that no one could pass that way. And they cried out, saying, what business do you have with us, Son of God? You have come here to torment us before that time? No, there was a herd of many pigs feeding from a distance from them, and the demons begged him, saying, if you are going to cast us out, send us into the herd of pigs. He said to them, go. And they came out and went into the pigs, and behold, the whole herd rushed down a steep bank into the sea and drowned in the water. And the herdsmen ran away and went into the city and reported everything, including what happened to the demon-possessed men. And behold, the whole city came to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave their region. I've heard it said by many different preachers that it would be better for the demons to die in a body than just sent back to hell because they've been cast out. I don't know. I've never read anything that remotely says anything about that, but okay, here's the one I was talking about. Then this is Luke chapter 8, verse 26 through 37. And they sailed to the country of Gerasenes, which is opposite of Galilee. And when he stepped out onto the land, a man from the city met him who was possessed with demons. And he had not put on clothing for a long time and was living in a house, but among the tombs. And seeing Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him and said with a loud voice, what business do you have with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me. For he had already commanded the unclean spirits to come out of the man, for it had seized him many times. He was bound with chains and shackles and kept under guard, and yet he would break the restraints and driven by the demons into the desert. Jesus asked him, what is your name? He said, Legion, because many demons have entered him, and they were begging him not to command them to go away into the abyss. This is when then he cast them into the pigs. So, I mean, I go back to the verse that says, all things were created by him on heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. So, I mean, like I said, it's just a theory of mine, but when I hear that or see that in the Bible, it says visible and invisible. That means something is around us all the time that we can't see, we can't hear, we can't touch. But they can manipulate you in ways that you'll never know you're being manipulated. You know, like when Samra used to do readings down there at the that place me and Joe used to go down in Ashland. I would never get she would never read my stuff because I wouldn't let her, because one, I don't believe those are the people that they're saying they are. I think they're demons and they're trying to get close to you.
Yeah.
And we were down there ghost hunting one night, and we were in the basement. There was about 8 or 10 of us down there. And she kept alluding to me like there was a spirit wanting to talk to me. And she would go on and say, when you was a kid, she used to do this and do that and do this. And I just kept telling her, nope, don't remember that. Nope, that's not familiar to me. And it was. I knew exactly who they were trying to be. But I kept telling her, nope, don't ring a bell. Nope. Because I don't want that. I don't need that in my life. I don't want that in my life.
When my aunt died in 2017, she had fell and broke her hip. She was about 90 years old, 92. Yeah, 90, I believe. She fell and broke her hip, and we had her in a nursing home trying to rehabilitate her and stuff. And she was doing good there for a long time. And they had her on some kind of weird pain medicine that didn't agree with her or something. They called us one night at the hospital like 3 o'clock in the morning. Called the whole family and everything, come and tell her bye. She's fading out. She ain't gonna last and everything. We need to go see her while she's still alive. So we went to the hospital, and me and my dad, and my sister, and one of my cousins was there. We were all standing around her bed, holding her hands and stuff, and she was out of it. She just laying there, looked like she's dead. And all of a sudden, she just raised up. And the nurse and everybody thought she was going to die too. And she just raised up. She came out of it, and she raised up, and she kind of looked around and started laughing. What are y'all doing here? And I said, we came to see you and stuff. And she said, you'll never guess where I went to. I was like, oh man, where'd you go? And she started talking. She said that she went to heaven. She said she had been there, and she talked to some angels and stuff, and she said it's so pretty there. She's talking about little streams and flowers and stuff and everything.
Right.
She was seeing all kinds of friendly people and angels and stuff. And they asked her if she wanted to live there, and she said, no, I believe I'll just go back for a little while longer. So she woke up then.
Wow.
And she ended up living about 6 more months after that, and kind of kept, she'd show improvement, and then she'd go back downhill again, and then just kind of bouncing back and forth like that. But I thought that was cool. She said she went to heaven. She was, last time I talked to her before she died, she knew she was going to die too. She, like, I wasn't totally expecting it, because she's tough. She broke pretty much every bone in her body in my life, and she'd always bounce back from it. And last day I went and seen her, she was pretty much telling me bye and stuff. She's telling me she loved me and everything. She's going to be leaving here pretty soon. And I thanked her for everything she'd done for me over the years and stuff. I said, well, when you get to heaven, tell my mom I said hi. And she said, okay, I will. And she ended up, she got pneumonia right after that, like pretty much the same night. And just, they put her in ICU, and she never did wake up again. She died a couple days later. So it's weird. She knew she was going.
Wow. I'm actually looking at Bible verses and what they say about angels. Because there's one Bible passage that sticks out in my head when they talk about angels. 2 Corinthians 11:14. This is what, when somebody says they've seen an angel, this is the verse that comes to my mind. It says, and no wonder, comma, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So, to me, I go to that old adage, you'll catch more flies with honey than vinegar. I think the devil is so cunning and so deceptive. He's been put on this world to do just one thing, that's kill, steal, and destroy. He's going to turn more souls away from God, but he's going to come to you as something appealing, not something that's scary. And every time I see somebody or hear somebody say, they saw one of their dead relatives, or they've talked to a dead relative through a medium or whatever, that's the first verse that pops into my head. Okay, how do you know that's not something demonic in disguise trying to... It's kind of like a Ouija board. If somebody messes with a Ouija board, most of the time, if something get attached to you through that, at first, it's not going to show its true colors. It's going to say, hey, I'm your great Aunt Lucy. Remember me? And we had, I used to buy you this or your ice cream. And then as it goes on, it's going to start showing its true colors. That's kind of how I think of that. Now, that's not saying that you didn't really see an angel, but did you see an angel, or did you see something demonic disguised as an angel?
Yeah, a lot of deception.
Yeah, because throughout the entire Bible, that's what the devil does. He don't come to you as the devil with horns and, a pointy tail and a pitchfork. That's not his MO. He comes to you as something shiny, something new, something exciting that takes you away from your walk with God. And a lot of times you'll do it and won't even know it. And it's so much deception out there. I mean, just take TV, for example. There are so many just demonic things in these movies that are corrupting these kids' mind at 3 and 4 and 5 years old. And they don't even know it's happening.
When you find some, the typical things of somebody throwing themselves on the ground or cursing and spitting and protesting and defecating, urinating and all sorts of protest. What they're doing is protesting, saying, help me.
I personally think that Malachi Martin was 100% legit. Just by hearing the way he spoke of these things, things that he had talked about during exorcisms, I firmly believe that he was 100% legit when it come to exorcisms and seeing demons. He talked about this, it was called the perfectly possessed. And when he broke that down, it actually kind of made sense.
The perfectly possessed are those that are completely at peace. And I've known several of the perfectly possessed, and I avoid them like the pest. And you know them only by almost accidental means. Sometimes they're perfectly normal, by the way, and they've got great business probity. They're married, they have children and wives, and they put down responsible jobs. There's nothing wrong there. Now and again, just now and again, it's as it were, a veil is drawn aside, and you see somebody you don't know at all. You just don't know this person, this man, this woman. And there's a completely alien look, a completely alien attitude, and they breathe alienation. And you know then, if you have a nose for it, you know then that they're perfectly possessed and there's nothing to be done about it. The first man I knew like that was called Beedham, John Beedham. And it was a frightening experience because I had known him for years.
It's basically, like you've seen people, and I'm sure we all have, who seem to just be, no matter what they do, it seems like they have the perfect life. They have, they don't worry about money. They don't worry about this or that, but they're not very nice people.
Yeah.
And he said that those type people were perfectly possessed, which basically all of their things that they had and or all whatever made their life so great from people standing on the outside was all a farce. Wasn't given by God. It was those people were going to be used somehow, some way in one point of their life by a demon or Satan or one way or the other. And he called it the perfectly possessed. And I wished I knew a little more about it, but that's basically it in a nutshell. And it made a lot of sense. But I guess he got to the point where he could walk down the street and just look at a person and almost know that if they were possessed by a demon. He could tell just by looking at them. So that'd be scary, if you ask me. That would be scary. There's different kinds of demonic possession. There's some that attach to you. There are some that are generational. Your great, 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 great grandparents may have made a pact with the devil or, did something they shouldn't have done, like, invoke a spirit or something of that nature and actually become generationally possessed. I've heard of that before, where it goes back generations.
We'll be taking a look at objects from around the world that affect their users' or owners' well-being, either spiritually, emotionally, or physically. Supposedly, allegedly, or reportedly due to curses, spirits, or something else entirely that we can't even begin to understand.
I was watching a show the other day about a guy who bought this divot box off the internet and opened it up, and immediately stuff started happening in his apartment. People, I don't think they realize that, how serious this stuff can be.
Yeah, I see it on them shows. Oh, that's cool. I want one of them. They don't realize.
No, you don't. You really don't. Yeah, that would be. But see, that's a lot of the reason why. Well, years ago, me and Joe, we would, do a lot of these ghost hunts and stuff. And that is a lot of the reason why I stopped. Because, I didn't want any of that stuff attached to me, bringing it home, I got enough stuff to deal with other than something like that. So, yeah, that's a lot of the reason why I gave that up. But good news is, all you got to do is believe that the Lord died on the cross. Jesus died on the cross and was rose 3 days later. And ask the Lord to forgive you for your sins. This life means nothing, really. I had a guy one time, it was really neat. He had about 600 or 700 feet of rope stretched out. And he had about 2 foot of that wrapped in red tape. And he held up that end with that red tape on it. And he said, "This is your life on earth. The rest of that is eternity." And people spend more time worried about this red tape when they should be worrying about, and he pointed down the rest of that rope, said, instead of eternity.
Yeah, that's a neat way to put it.
That is an amazing way to put it. Now I imagine there's people in church who go to church faithfully that are possessed. Don't even know it. This pastor went in to get his hair cut, and his barber looked at him and said, "You're one of them preacher guys, right?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't believe in that." He said, "Well," he talked to him a little bit, and he said, "You're wasting your breath on me, buddy." He said, "I don't believe in that stuff." He said, "Well, what is the reason?" He said, I don't have no reason. It's all hocus pocus and a fairy tale." Well, the pastor kind of seen he was fighting a losing battle with it, so, he thanked the man and paid him and walked out. As soon as he walked out, there was this homeless guy sitting there. Hadn't had a bath in a week or two. Had a long, scruffy beard and long, nasty hair. He asked him, he said, "Come with me a minute." And he walked him into the barber shop. He said, "Look at that guy's hair." He said, "I don't believe in barbers." He said, "What do you mean you don't believe in barbers?" He said, "Well, this guy is sitting out here right outside your door. Look at his hair. I don't believe in barbers." He said, "Well, he's never come to me." And the preacher looked at him and said, "Exactly." So it's just that simple, man.
So, yeah, that's about all the time we got this week. And we sure hope you enjoyed the show. If you've had an encounter with a demon, or you've seen an angel, or anything else cool like that, send an email to indarkplacespod@hotmail.com. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. God bless, and see ya.